Hello, everyone. This is Manel from Universal Healing, and we have today a very special person that I met not long ago, but that you know that I like to follow the guidance of the universe, and through synchronicity, Tataya and her Prisma work came to my perception, to my experience, and I just decided to follow that thread, and we had a conversation, and I ended up in 2 weeks ago in a very beautiful workshop that I was leading with her team. And yeah, I decided to invite her to have this conversation with us, so we all can talk a little bit more about healing, about personal process, about group process, about transformation, about who we are, who we can become. So, Tataya,
Mm.
who are you?
Hi, Manel. Hi, Manel. Thank you.
Hi.
Oh my goodness, that seems like I can go broad. Who am I? I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I'm a human being, and um, I'm I'm one very committed, passionate to personal transformation. And since I remember, beginner's mind of life, I love interacting with life and working with people. So I am a Venezuelan, born and raised in Venezuelan, and a woman that has traveled many different contexts, from being a lawyer to diving into 17 years of yoga teaching to stepping into the transformational world for over 20 years. And I'm also a mother of 3 teenagers, and um, I find life as my greatest teacher. So currently I'm running my my purpose is through Prisma. I'm running a startup company for the last 4 years that has to do with holding a playground for adults to get into embodying in a new way, inhabiting and remembering our primal selves, and healing and dropping in the baggage that we carry from life experiences. And so I'm a facilitator. I coach one-on-one. I do group coaching, and yeah, I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of passion for this playground that is tricky to speak of. Yeah, that's a little piece of who I am. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And one thing that really struck me from meeting you is the light that you hold, and the capacity that you have, the capacity of your energy of
Mm-hmm.
being open and being engaging,
Mm-hmm.
and being, holding that space for the group to
Mm-hmm.
be where we can feel safe, and we can allow these places that maybe many other times we try to protect so fiercely, and to just to move them, and to in that movement, yeah, we open up the space for the new
Mm-hmm.
that wants to arise in
Mm-hmm.
us. And I felt that very strongly during this workshop, these 5 days with you. Could you tell us usually what, I don't know, yeah, usually what the workshop is, the Prisma workshop is.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone is interested in this work, maybe they would understand a little bit better what they will face.
This is like the question that I can answer in 1,000 different ways. But basically, Prisma is a 5 day container, the workshop that you did, that is created for helping the helpers, for people that value personal transformation, that took the pill already and understand, they are in charge of writing their story and healing. So it's high level players that come into a very tight ship of very defined values, rules, and guidelines. But what really happens at the center of Prisma, which I call the arena and the processing space to do that, is um, it's a context to interface in a nonverbal way with life occurring in present moment emergence that has the capacity to tap into old experiences that we haven't processed fully, that opens to emotions that we have the space to go 100% in all the way in relation to another. And also, we tap into universal human patterns and archetypes that we get to live and ride like a flow state together, where it doesn't matter what you know, what is it that you do in life. We can bare naked and insert ourselves inside of the experience itself. And it's incredibly empowering, because what happens is people come in burned out, exhausted, weighted, closed. It's very simple, closed. And they, on the other side, open up, like refuel, plug into life, remember, recovers a range of experiences. And ultimately what I see happening is people have a renewed sense of self and a trust in themselves, and an empowerment to go back into life and continue to live their purpose or clarify their purpose. And they also have a sense of being seen and witnessed, and affirmation of the value of who they are, and less noise of all these little parts and all these limitations that get in the way. So it's a very reaffirming and life-giving experience on the other side. And some things change people forever, and some other things, it's kind of like, okay, you go back to life to do your own like gym practice of coaching yourself and integrating. Yeah.
I think that is a good description, and I want to emphasize that I don't know if you do Prisma for very beginners. Well, it seems maybe you don't, but I I don't know. You tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But
what is very beginners, right? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. That means like, look, I've been teaching in the Barbara Brenner School of Healing for many years, and we have a combination of beginners and people that have been seeing people for years, or working with people for years, that they decide to become energy healers, or to get a better training, but to get better skills in their job. So one of the things that we, besides teaching skills and practicing hands-on energy healing and all that, and psychological skills that we work with too, there is also group process every week that we meet together. And what I notice is that the invitation and the sacred space, the sacred container, it's welcoming everyone where they are. So sometimes we can see there that there are people that they have not done personal process or group process much, and they have a lot of hesitation kind of on allowing what comes through them to present itself, and for them to be able to follow and all that. And then you see that other people that have done more, it's easier for them to just follow the flow. So with that, I want to say that here in Prisma the other week, it was very exciting for me, because I really love this type of work, and I'm more used to lead it than to participate. I have participated a lot in the past, but now I'm more used to lead it. But to me, it was such a refreshing experience of allowing myself to follow the flow without having to hold the space for anyone else or anything like that. And it was such a beautiful experience to be able to be there. But also there was that thing that I could see that most of the people, maybe everyone, I'm going to say, they were having some experience already. They were facilitators in some way. So that kind of helped me to even trust deeper my own process, because I see, because one of the things that you do in Prisma is that you are looking always for this connection, isn't it? For the meeting that someone is here, someone here will most likely connect with you in your process, and you have something to share there. That I found it very beautiful and different than sometimes in other group process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is correct. And it could, I mean, it's not group encounters as it was like in the 60s, but it is at the same time, in that the invitation is to meet in our humanity. There's a lot of capacity in the room. You're right, Manel. The people that come to Prisma normally are people that are in service. They have the ethos of serving people, and so they want a space for them to be held. At the same time, is like a paradox in the training and in the technology that we have of meeting as humans in a nonverbal way, that you are held in the Prisma container, you're held in the values and the guidelines and the rules that are great, that give safety. You are held within a group of like peers, like you say, that then you can trust enough to then go into places, but they're trusting you. So there's a very unique thing that happens here in Prisma, that each person that comes, it is holding the container and the responsibility for oneself and the other, of the intelligence of the group to go to the trenches together. And so I feel like excited and energized, because part of what happens is peers working together already with a certain level of capacity, then to go to places that are probably the most vulnerable people, places that we don't have context in life, and being held. You don't have to hold the container, you have the facilitation, and then there's a point where you are holding, but it's not taking away from you, it's actually giving. It's like, oh, giving is receiving. And so it's a very interesting phenomenology that happens inside.
Yeah, like I said, I now after 2 weeks, because these 5 days are very intense, I have to say. They are long days.
Yeah.
They are long days. And one thing that you mentioned in the beginning that really resonate with me is that usually when I'm teaching or when I'm in a workshop or something like this, usually at the end of the day, I may be destroyed or tired. Let's say tired. So it happens, but not so often. But I remember after every day in Prisma, at the end, that I was feeling good. I was feeling good. Yeah, I'm tired, but like at the end of the day, people, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm not. I'm tired, but my energy feels good. My energy feels vital. I feel really alive. That it's the thing. I can say that. Yeah, that. And I know that in healing, when we allow the movement of the emotions and the trauma that is stuck in you, new life comes to run into your energy field, and really that sensation is what I was feeling. That new life is here for me.
Totally. I'm so excited that you brought that, because Manel, I think at the end, I was thinking about this week. The world is in crisis. There's so many crises. Which is the biggest crisis? Yeah. And because of the work that I do, I was like, oh my goodness, the real crisis where we actually have power to do something, in my thought process in that moment, still today and now, is the crisis of unresourced human beings, like the crisis of not being the self as an instrument that has been up leveled for the complexities and all the things that we're facing as humans. Like there is something in us that I see as needing to upgrade. Like it's exactly like the vehicle industry. We have the gas vehicles and now we have the electric vehicles. Well, there's something that Prisma's holding for humanity in up leveling, like the ship that is ran down and weighted. And so people that come to Prisma, one of the consistent things that they say is they feel more alive, they feel more resourced, they feel more vital. And one thing that we care in Prisma from the beginning till end is the ongoing integration process and regulation. There's a titration to open and to regulate. So we are very carefully working with that titration and building the capacity to do that more, because that's what happens in life.
Yeah.
So we are not destroyed or run down at the end of each day. How do we move and how do we use our energy consciously? So yeah. I feel lit up about this piece of, yourself as an instrument. Like really, your ship gets refined. Like the way that you move in your body and inhabit is a distinct thing that's across the board. That is not a thinking, that is not only an insight, is a capacity, a resilience in interacting with the world and the complexities and the big energies and the hard and yeah. I don't know if that's true for you, but
Yeah, it is. And I like to also to mention that I don't know if I can share this, but I think I can. That I think I can. That is not coming to Prisma to the workshop is not like going to school that we're gonna learn a lot of theory or a lot of course we learn things, but we learn them through an experiential method. You mentioned playground before,
yeah.
and I think it's just like that, and just a playground for us to show up. And of course everyone will have more or less, depending on how they allow themselves to show up, I would say, which we all have our I mean, I can say that the first day maybe I was of course with new people and all that, and being in a workshop as a participant for a long time, not being participant, just well anyways, so I was a little kind of like this watching, but very soon I jumped into the playground and I felt so good by you and your team and everyone just jumping into the playground with me as well. So yeah, that is great. And tell me, Tataya, what happens after? I know that you talk a lot about integration. I know as an energy healer, that energy, when we move energy, there is an expansion, a contraction, and contraction is part of the integration. That can be negative or positive, meaning negative that we can go into this a space of beating up ourselves because again, I feel low after such a big expansion and all that. But also it's so important to if we can experience that as a positive thing, that we internalize the work that we have done, and okay, this is who I am, and okay, yeah, I still have some fears, but also I'm able to expand a lot, to expand more, and when we expand more, we also then contract more, so maybe we can even feel the fear, the deeper fears in deeper level even. But so what is your, in Prisma, Tataya, what is, or you personally, what is your vision about the integration?
So there's a couple of things I want to weave in your question about integration, because I'll go back to the integration at the end of this, and that is you're using a word that is great, this allowing, because it takes a lot of energy to resist, to hold back. All these things are like heating the operating system more than if you just allowed. There is a discernment of why we hold back, why we resist, right?
We call it we are defending. What you're mentioning, we are defending from life, because we learn from our traumas and all that. And then what you're mentioning, then we stop defending and something happens. Yes,
right. And we start to like clean up the proper discernment of fear when there's a tiger in the room or a bear in the neighborhood, And when there's not, you get to release that from the amygdala. But another piece is, Manel, is that in the modern life that we're spending most time in our heads. So a lot of what happens in Prisma is that it helps develop the bottom-up approach, because a lot of people come with a lot of capacity, super developed, brilliant, genius minds, but they haven't developed the bottom-up approach that actually complements and enhances not only the creativity, the energy, everything. So what I want to say about the integration in a second is that one possibility that I see arises in the Prisma playground is normalizing what the experiences we have inside of us that we normally are not sharing, because we think, oh, it's just us. So normalizing the resistance, the defending, the fear, the anxiety, the not enoughness. So in the group, when you start to realize, oh, wait a second, I'm not alone. I'm back to the moment where you decided to jump in, where you trusted enough the container. I'm wondering, what would you say about that moment? What allowed you to actually give yourself into it versus the beginning of the workshop? Because it's normal entering a new environment, moving away from your regular habitual patterns. Like you're like in a new jungle with new creatures. It takes a moment, And so I'm curious about what allowed you to then trust and jump in before we go into the integration piece in Prisma, which is so pivotal and important beside the 5-day workshop.
Okay, are you asking me then that?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
So, yeah, I don't have a very clear answer about if there was just one thing, but that allowed me. But really, it was that I reached that point of, I think we did the first day. At the end, we did the first arena, we call it, the first playground, we could call, so everyone understand that we can go and play. And after the whole day, that there was all kinds of activities and talking and meeting the other people and meeting the team. Yeah, I really felt safe. I really felt safe to be who I am, and I trust myself in those environments, but I need to trust also where I am and who I am with. And so I think that moment just happens the first morning of the second day, and really I would say almost 100% trust. And I could just allow myself. And actually, I went to touch one of my deepest wounds very quickly. That it was, I treasure that in my heart. When I touch this deep wounding in me that I have done before, but this time it was so quick and so deep. That I treasure these moments. I really appreciate. I think I mentioned in that moment, I think that we come here to experience the pain, because it's so beautiful, because the pain gets with the bliss, and
totally.
we are, and we feel who we are in such intensity. So I guess that my answer to your question is when I was able to really trust the whole thing. And it happens, you help me to trust very quickly the process.
It brings me, because I know we're in a conversation where also other people are facilitators or energy workers or hold spaces for groups or one-on-one, and that is that trust takes time. I just want to say, I imagine like the group, it takes like one day to okay, they're all like testing and seeing and just being cautious. So wow, it really takes time to build trust. And going back to the integration piece, Manel, another thing that I find works really well in Prisma is it's navigating then the like the edges individually and of the group, because what affords more opening in going to the deepest wound is the ability of each participant, each, like I call them heroes actually because it feels heroic, to voluntarily choose the thing that naturally they want to resist because there's a memory or a past experience, and to voluntarily choose to step into something with another that didn't cause the wound or the pain, but to step into it like a cold plunge, which I use a lot. And it feels that way, the nature of the work. So I like weaving the integration with a trust in the sense of safety embedded in Prisma is holding the agency of each person to choose that, understanding that they are holding the context that they're going to do it knowing that it doesn't feel good. The nature of it is uncomfortable. It's like, oh, if I do this, oh, I'm afraid or I'm resisting or defending. And so that is something very powerful that happens here, that then going back to the integration process, because each person has the agency to voluntarily choose to step into it, the titration and the self-regulation happens in a more, I'm going to say, in a continuum way. There's not like really abrupt things for the nervous system, because each person is moving according to their own capacity. So there is body energy integration. We feel the emotions and we enact all these things that we do in the arena, but then there's a moment actually in the meeting, there's a peak of the experience, a lot of adrenaline, but then there's the oxytocin, and there's a place of the relational space where you are doing it with another person, and then there's the individuating space where you lie down on the ground, you go back to your skin, your body, you go back to your energy, like yourself different than the other person. And we do this repeatedly throughout the 5 days. That's just one of the integrations, but the other one is there, because it's a nonverbal, there's a place of meaning making. So it's like the different facets. I'm going to pause here because it seems you have something.
Yeah, no, that bit of integration after each arena, that you come back to yourself and you have some time to just stay there with your own body and with the allowing the integration, allowing the energy to come back to yourself, and
Yeah.
it's precious moment. Yeah, I really appreciate it that you are inviting everyone to have that experience at the end of each arena. That I have to say, we have many arenas in the world. Man, it's a constant opening up for new possibilities, and with this cycle of expansion and then having the moment to integrate, that it's very well thought, I think, Tataya, and it really follows the natural rhythm of the energy in our human energy field. So I really appreciate it being there and being held in that space.
Thank you, Manel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking about how I assess my containers like a really tight ship. I feel strongly about how important it is to to create a container that can hold the fire in the crucible. So I'm thinking right now these different ways of integrating inside of the workshop are really embedded in there for a reason. And sometimes, I mean, people can think, wow, this is like really strict, even with the time. We start on time, we end on time. There's a reason why we have all these things: values, rules, guidelines, time, context awareness, context shift. What are we doing? What are not we doing? Because it's building not only the capacity to go out in life. Life is like that. Life is really chaotic. I mean, you just need to be aware of your context. You can't be processing and feeling forever. Like, you got to show up for work. You got to get up. You got to, whatever. But what I want to say around the integration piece is there's different ways that work better for different people. And that's another reason why we have all these ways of integrating. And when we step into a meeting and we allow ourselves to enact that which becoming alive, that normally has to do with at the beginning, it has to do with a negative experience we have that's attached in the amygdala. I'm going to get a little technical right now here. That memory that has created the tendency to protect ourselves when we don't need to anymore, that is going to be repatterned with the intensity of the present moment emergence and the fear and the choosing it in. There's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol that affords this the neuroplasticity for the memory to actually detach from the amygdala. And then what happens, that I want to say in the body energy integration, is there's an open space that allows the new imprint from the meeting that you had to attach to the amygdala for a new upgraded current sense of safety. Then for the body energy integration, what's happening behind the scenes, we call it the new imprint, the body's intelligence to know now something new that generates a new possibility moving forward. So I wanted to drop that in because yes, it is lying down and individuating, coming back to your energy, but there's a particular thing that's happening in your nervous system, which is receiving that new imprint, which is the game changer that you're going to be back in life with.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, because it's how it is. It's healing. It's healing the trauma and allowing the new possibility to be imprinted in you. Okay, now I can be more who I really am, instead of the one that is protecting all the time from life or from others. Yes.
In a way that we can talk about it is I can flow more with life. It's like the river, now it's flowing, so there's less bumps in the road. Absolutely. And then we have other types of integration that have to do with verbal integration. Okay, giving what you know now that might not have words yet, then what is the process of connecting? Oh, what was this in relationship to? Oh, giving the meeting that I had in that past experience, now I can see, now you generate a new narrative, which is the third piece required for healing to happen. Like having a new narrative that it's not imposing it, but you actually see more. And so it's fascinating because sometimes I am cautious to talk about trauma because Prisma does help the healing of trauma that are not like capital T traumas that can be worked in a group. And at the same time, when I started doing this and I met this technology, I learned it from an organization called Avalon in 2015. I thought, hey, this is not for me because I don't have trauma in the way that I understood trauma back then, right? And then I went to the first workshop and I'm like, oh my gosh, I realized I was like a shapeshifter. I discovered capacities I didn't know I had. And I find that sometimes people are surprised not only to strengthen capacities, but discover new ones. And sometimes it's just becoming more in tune and more in contact with emergence in life, like creativity. Like it's not all negative and trauma,
Yeah.
We do drop the backpack, but there's so much that play and creativity and just incredible things that arise when you release enough, when you empty enough the things that are weighing on you.
And these days I'm always thinking about, well, not always thinking, but it's in my awareness that difference between people that have gone through healing processes, to healing that like you were saying, I have not had any of the terrible trauma in my life, but we all have trauma since we all have we all have experienced the existential terror when we are little babies coming to this physical world that feels so different, and we perceive everything, and many things are terrifying and all that. We all have had the experience of not having our needs met by our mother or our care, all these type of things. We all have it. And but the real difference, and I think things like Prisma or receiving healings in or going through a healing process in your life, it's great because it helps you to open to new possibilities, because you learn that to stop defending less, let's say, and opening up for more possibilities really brings another capacity to appreciate or to be in life that makes life more beautiful, I'm going to say. Beautiful
and meaningful, right? Yeah, meaningful. Like you just,
yeah. And if we are here, it's what I'm thinking now. If we are here, let's just be here, and not so much in our minds or in our screens or in our distractions. And so we can have an open heart. We can bring the gifts that we all have here for each other. And that is another thing that I found in Prisma that was very clear, that we find people there that we all have a gift for each other when we allow it, when we really open up and we trust the process. And I think that the way that you are holding the space there, you and your team,
Brigitte and Evangeline,
it's so great. It's so I had such a great time, and so I really appreciate the opportunity of coming and doing Prisma. And I feel that we already have been quite a long time in this conversation, and I don't know. Do you have anything else that you like to bring to this conversation before closing our video, Tataya?
Yeah, thank you, Manel. I was left at the end of what you were saying is there's a way that people literally are shining by the end, shining their gifts, shining their sense of who they are, and also like the camaraderie that happens in the group, that you go to places that most likely maybe your spouse hasn't been with you, and your children, your coworkers, your friends, your family. And so there's a way that I find that when you do a Prisma, you find a type of bonding that feels like somebody has your back. You've been seen and witnessed in your deepest pain and in your greatness. And so there's a way of equipping, like championing, that I feel happens in Prisma to go back in the world to do the big things, but with a group that knows you, that has an awareness of having seen you. And that is something that is, especially in the social media and this like globalized world, like it's risky to stand out, in my opinion, in the world, because there's just so much there's so much contraction and pain that people, there's projections, there's all sorts of things. So I'm left with the luminosity and how people shine at the end. This light that you were talking about at the beginning, this vitality, it's kind of like full circle, really a tank full, but not taking life or yourself so seriously. You go back into life with enjoyment, with a beauty and a regain hope and inspiration to live a life that matters, something like that. And together, you're not alone. So
it feels very deep and beautiful to be able to be the light that you are, and being seen, and at the same time with being seen by other people, that they are also shining their light there. It's very powerful and very beautiful, and just having this experience and embracing that maybe you can keep doing that in your life, keep being the light, shining the light that you are, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, as much as you can. And Prisma really helps with that. It's a beautiful experience. And I would really like that you have a lot of people coming to your workshops. Me, myself, I would be open to come back. And so where can people find you?
Yeah. So we have a website, prismaleadership.com. And what's exciting about 2024, Manel, that is like every round brings an iteration and a growth for Prisma. Truly, it has a life of its own. So what is in store for 2024 is that we are shifting the way that we're holding the containers, and we're going to communities now to work with the communities and support the community. So the mission we have for 2024 is actually connecting with community members that want to bring this type of work and set the playground in their community. So it looks like we're going to go to Canada. I'm in conversations with someone in Europe. And so it's really exciting because I'm turning around facing the world now with my team and going to places with the Prisma arena and bringing it and expanding where we do this work. Yeah.
And if you do that in places that they are inviting you to go, you are also open for people that doesn't belong to that community to come to do it, or?
Well, it's a conversation with the community that's inviting us and the host. So as we're being host, we will work with the host to set the conditions. And the other exciting thing is doing a taster. I did in Bergerac, France this summer, a 1-day taster of Prisma, and it worked great.
Okay.
And offering, you said something around, well, the 5 days is a lot or intense. Is it for beginners? And I'm with a curiosity of like, okay, what would it be like a medium level? Because 5 days, I'm giving you the best dish with everything and dessert included. What would it be? A 3-day Prisma is something also that I'm really curious in exploring. Just enough, but not the full 5 days for both beginners and for people that want to come back to the arena and go deeper. So yeah.
Okay, that sounds exciting. I can see the 3 days really going deep for it. That could work very well. So yeah, great. Thank you very much, Tataya. It's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to meeting you, and it's a pleasure to talk with you as well. It's a pleasure to see your light, and so I wish that everything goes perfectly for you and for Prisma, and we'll keep talking.
Thank you so much, Manel. It was a joy having this conversation, and I hope it was valuable for the community that you lead or that you're part of. And I'm available if anybody wants to contact me directly on Facebook or through the website. I love to connect with people that are interested in unfolding and, shining bright, like you say, like plugging their tank to life force.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Manel.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.